Hey everybody, I'm Garcia, and today I'll be taking a look at the new release from Fantasy Flight Games, Battle for Rokugan. In this game, which utilizes the theme in Legend of the Five Rings, the players are going to be controlling different clans in this setting and trying to control different regions on the map to get the most glory. You're going to be doing that by attacking the other players, by controlling your own sections, by defending them well, and sometimes even by using shady tactics to push the other opponents out and come out ahead and win the whole thing, all right? So I'm going to give you a look at how this works. I'm not going to go into every little detail. There's a good amount here, though the game I wouldn't say is overwrought or complicated. And then we're going to come back after that and I'll tell you what I think of it. Here we go. Each player in the game is going to represent one of the different clans in Rokugan, and you are going to try to get the most glory at the end of the game, the most victory points. You are going to get victory points by controlling different provinces, like this one here. You get 3 victory points for that. Also, you get a bonus if you control an entire region made up of several provinces, all belonging to the same clan. You're going to get a bonus for that at the end of the game. And also, you're going to have a secret objective if you can get that done. You're going to get some victory points from that as well. So at the beginning of the game, everyone picks one of the clans to be their clan. So you're going to get a screen like this one here with some information on the inside for each player. You're going to be able to hide your tokens behind that. You get some starting cards, like a couple of scouts, for example. You get one of these cards here, and you get 2 secret objectives, and you are going to keep one of them, whichever one you like. We've also set up some cards around the outside of the board here, and you are going to get all of the tokens belonging to your group. So for example, Scorpion, I'm going to get all of these tokens here. There's 2 kinds, control tokens, and then the ones you actually put on the board to deal with the other players. Some of them just mark territory. At the beginning of the game, you're going to put one of these control tokens in your starting province, your main one. And then, depending on the number of players, you in turn order claim a certain other number of these. You can just go around and, start popping these into play, taking things over. Everyone would be doing this, taking separate places until you've put out, for example, in a game with 3 players, 7. And then you are ready to begin. So the way the game works is you're going to play over 5 rounds, and the rounds are marked over here with the round marker, okay? You are going to, each of those 5 rounds, you are going to go over 4 different phases. So it's basically, 3 phases, really, 3 specific groups of actions. The first is the upkeep phase, in which we determine the start player from these, and so you would do something like that at the beginning of each round. That player is a star player, and then you remove this card so it will not be that person again. All right. Then you are going to draw some combat tokens. You always have your bluff token, which looks like that. It's a blank token, the back matching every other token. And then you draw some from your pool. So for example, let's say I am crab token here. That's the clan I'm representing. I would draw a few more like this and put those behind my screen so that the other players don't know what I'm holding. All right, I'll tell you what those do in 1 second. Once that's done, then we go to the placement phase. So again, upkeep phase, where you figure out start player and get some new tokens and so on, and then you actually place these out. You're going to go around and around from the starting player, putting these in play face down on the board. If you point them from your location into another location, it signifies you're attacking them. If you put them in your own place, pointing towards your victory points, it signifies that you are defending. And there's a few other things you can do. You could put them far away from where you are, and that might be a ninja. Maybe not. Maybe you're bluffing, okay? You also have some coastal attacks that way. If you're here, you can point them away and go attack a different, like this, rather, a coast from somewhere that you can get to, okay? So there's a few different things you can do with these. Once you've placed all 5 that you're placing, and you will normally carry 1 over, then they're all revealed and dealt with in the resolution phase, which is the last part of the turn. First, you reveal them all, you remove any that are bluffs, like this one, or any that are illegally placed. And you're allowed to do that. You can bluff with those, but you will lose them, okay? And then we go over some of the other ones in turn order, specifically because some of them, as it says here on the back of your sheet, have to happen first, okay? And the way that works is a couple of special ones are the raid tokens and the diplomacy tokens. So if you play a raid token somewhere, you are going to remove all of the tokens pointing at that place. You've raided that place and you set it on fire and it is burning like that. And it's going to keep burning. It's not going to count. Some things might remove those, but they're a little more rare. The other thing is diplomacy, which is, I actually happen to draw one here. It looks like a tea kettle. If you point that at some place, again, you remove all the tokens and you put a peace token there, and there will be no fights into that place or out from that place. So I might do that in here, for example. And then all of the other ones are simply resolved in by their strength. So if I'm pointing into a place that belongs, let's say, to this player here, and I point this token into it from that place, I reveal it, and it's a strength of 1. If they had not defended, then I win. This is removed. I put my own control token in there. If I had, let's say, attacked with this one, and they had defended with one of their own, so let's find one that they can defend with here. Like so. Let's say they played that pointing at themselves. We reveal them. Mine is a strength 2. Theirs is a strength 3. They win. I instead just do not walk in there, and they are going to add another control token, but this time face up. And they do 2 things to that region now. It's worth more points. It's now worth 3 in this case. And the defense has gone up by 1. Note that the castles already have a built-in defense of +2, okay? So that's how that works, and you deal with all those. I'm not going to go into all the exceptions and little rules. I just want to give you a general idea here. Once that phase is done, we move on to the next year. We reveal a new player and so on. One other thing that happens is when you are going over the resolution phase, you might claim these territory cards if you control the entire territory. So let's say I'm able to control all 3 of these in the Scorpion Clan's region. I would get that card, which is 1 card out of 2 randomly selected at the beginning of the game, and no one looks at it until someone claims it. This is going to allow me a special power at the beginning of the next round, or any round really, as long as I still have it. But 1-time power, and then I would put the card back where it came from. If someone else wins it before I've used it, or if I lose it before I've been able to trigger it, then I'm not going to get the benefit. So usually you want to use these pretty much as soon as you can. So in this case, for example, this one says, remove 1 peace token from any province. If you remove a peace token from a province you control, add 2 of your control tokens face up to that province. Very cool. So I could give this up and add 2 control tokens in there face up. All right. And then I put this back over here. And if someone else wins it, or I win it again, I'm going to get it again, or they're going to get it. All right. So this is going to add a little variability to the goings-on the land. Each of the clans having a bit of a thematic flair when it comes to utilizing these cards, and it injects a little more theme into the game. You also have these 2 lands down here that are both a single region and their own province. It's a province of 1 region. They have their own cards over here, and these are a little more in your face. They're a little more combative, so be aware of those and watch out for someone, messing with you too much. Try to take those away from them. So that's generally it. Once all the 5 rounds have happened, you figure out which ones you still control. You get those victory points. If you control the whole thing in 1 color, you get a bonus 5 victory points. And then your secret goal, which let me draw a random one and see what I would have had here. Let's go with that one. This one says, the last line of defense. At the end of the game, if you control either the Crab capital or 2 provinces in the Crab territory, you earn 5 honor. So I would have had to go in here. That would have been a goal from the beginning of the game, obviously, for me. Go in here and either take this one or take these 2 or these 2, whatever. And then I am going to get those bonus 5 victory points. All right. That's it. That's basically the game. That just repeats 3 times. You playing these cards if you have them, grabbing new tokens, deciding who the star player is, and then deploying tokens, revealing them, dealing with the fights, taking over stuff, giving up places, and doing it again at the beginning of the next round. Oh, and giving these cards up to the players who would earn them, and doing it again the next round. All right? Hopefully that's an overview that makes sense and you understand kind of the flow of the game. There's a lot here that doesn't necessarily bounce off the board unless you're playing the game. There is some subtleties here that are not readily apparent, but hopefully it's enough to get you give you a feel for how it goes. So let's go back up top and let me tell you how what I thought about the game and how I liked it. So that's Battle for Rokugan. Let's talk about it using my target audience system. We're going to start, of course, with thematic ties. I think the theme in this game is great. I'm a fan of the Legend of the Five Rings setting anyway, and I think this takes that setting and those different clans and their fictional histories and puts them to good use. Yes, there's not as much flavor imbued into the game as there could be. There's not a lot of text in this game, really. It's a few cards out there and a couple of special powers. But the different clans are going to have a different token pool, so everyone is slightly different. They're all unique. And you have a little power that's shown on your player screen. All of the cards for the different lands, whichever one randomly comes up, is going to give you an interesting power that, again, if you choose to read into it, could tie into the L5R setting overall. So I think it works well. I think the theme here is well implemented. Everything makes sense together. And even the feel of the game, this idea of maybe you want to just attack other people. Maybe you want to negotiate a little bit. This is all, you can just sort of bring that to the game if you want to. There's no negotiation phase or anything like that. But you can do a lot of things in this setting that make sense in this setting. And I like it for that reason. The aesthetics of the game I also think are great. Everything in it looks good. It's bright. It's well made. Quality of everything is solid. The only person I could see, or the only people I could see having a problem with the aesthetics in the game are those that find it too bland to look at on the table. Because, yes, with those little tokens that point at whatever you're attacking or defending, yeah, it's not going to be visually striking like, say, miniatures would be. But it's functional and it works well in the game. I think the game's look has a lot of appeal to it. And it's a very small box as well. So this is a game that feels in many ways like an epic experience in a fairly short time frame and with fairly few components. So I think the aesthetics really do a good job of being married to the theme and putting you in that world and making the gameplay feel right. The replayability and scalability, I think scalability is pretty good. I prefer it somewhere in the middle when it comes to the player count. But the replayability is great because there's so much you can change from play to play. For one thing, playing with different amounts of players is going to feel slightly different with how many people you have to, defend against or attack, how many fronts you have to worry about, that sort of thing. But also, the cards around the table might be different. There's only 2. I do wish there were more, but again, if this game does well, I'm sure we'll see more because it's Fantasy Flight Games. They will release an expansion. But I like that the replayability as far as what clan you are playing, what cards showed up, how you interact with the other players. Do you negotiate? Do you not even talk to each other and just attack? You can bring that to the game if you so choose. And I think it kicks the replayability up for me. This is the kind of game that after you play, at least for me, I do find myself thinking about and going, what could I have done differently to maybe keep that player from attacking me for a round? What could I have manipulated differently? Who could I have targeted with this so that this person doesn't then turn right around and betray me and that sort of thing. So replayability for me is good. The game length I also thought was pretty good. 5 rounds felt right. And it gave me enough to do. I did not find myself sort of sinking into this idea of like rinse, wash, repeat as to what you are doing in the game. But it also did not feel so short that I couldn't accomplish things. It's got a good balance, and this is the right length, in my opinion, for this style of game. You don't want to be stuck at the table taking someone's terrain, and then they take it back, and then you say, okay, fine, keep it, I'll take this one instead, and then someone else over there sneaks it and takes it away next time. There's some of that. the right amount of that, and then the game's over, and you just try to control the juicy spots and the entire territories as best as you can. But you don't have to hold them forever, a couple of rounds, right? And then the game's over. So I like that. I like that very much. I think the game length is exactly what it needs to be. Ease of play, which is fiddliness, things like that. I did not find the game to be fiddly. There's a little bit of visual confusion, and this is very minor. I'm nitpicking here, but do make sure you are looking everywhere so that you see where everything is pointing. Make sure that all the tokens get revealed as they get, after they get placed. Make sure you are being thorough with what's happening on the board itself. But the phases are very simple to understand. The gameplay does not have a lot of differences that in one game session you are going to do this one thing that you haven't done in any other game session. You do the same things that might be different from game to game, but you are doing basically the same things. And the ease of play, you fall into that cadence, and I like it. I find it to be engaging, triggering the special powers, earning those cards, all of those things feel good, but they're not complicated. And that's what I like about it. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, I think, are both there, and I think they're both great. Yes, there's some luck as to which tokens you draw from your pool, but you're going to get most of them. You might not get them right now. If you're not getting any of the high-powered tokens in your pool, in your reserve, you will later on. Depending on how often you use your bluff token, you might get fewer of those at the end of the game. If you keep putting out your bluff and keeping a token, you get the bluff back, right? And then you only draw up to your max pool size. So you're going to get fewer of them. But having the bluff token, I think, is valuable. I think it's worth having because sometimes you want to hold one of those tokens back. You need to have that bluff. So I think there's a lot there, and there's even more if you choose to, again, engage in a little negotiation. If you want to have a little more intrigue around the table, you can choose to play that way or not. It's not explicit, as I said, in the rule book, but it's there because the game frame allows for that. This idea of putting the tokens out when I'm about to put a token, you can say, hey, don't do that, go over here, and then I won't attack you. That's there. It's easily playable that way. And so I enjoy that as well. All right, having said all that, I think this is a solid game. This is the second game from Tom Jolly recently, in recent years, and a co-designer both times, that I think, for me, give me something I was not expecting from designer Tom Jolly. And I think, again, both times I've been impressed. The other game being a sequel to Manhattan Project, by the way, Energy Empire. That's a great game as well. But here, it's a game that I was not sure I was going to like. I was intrigued by the theme. I thought I might like it. I wanted to check it out. But the game really is streamlined and enjoyable. And it gives me that quote-unquote dudes on a map feel, attacking, controlling regions, right? The Risk vibe with a lot more interest. And I very much enjoyed it. So yeah, this is one I'm going to recommend. If you are someone that enjoys this style of game, I think you're going to dig this one. And even though you might eventually run out of steam a little bit if you play it a lot, I'm sure if it does well, FFG, like I said, will release an expansion for it. This is one that I could see an expansion for doing well, and adding a good amount of interest to it. Having said all that, this one's going to get a seal of excellence from me. It's a really neat game. I recommend you check it out. That is Battle for Rokugan, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.